Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nota, Bene. My guest today is Angela Hollowell, and we were just laughing about how people get names wrong all the time. Angela, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited. So I've been following you. I looked at LinkedIn. I was like, how long have I been following her? Since 2022. And it's always funny how like you just find these random posts on LinkedIn that connect you to someone that you've never met that isn't even in your same industry necessarily, but you're just like, yes, I want more of this person in my feed. So I've been following you for a while, but then you reached out to me recently about your newsletter on Beehive, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. By the way, will you join me on LinkedIn? So thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
Okay, so you call yourself a visual storyteller, and you help create communities and support this like entrepreneur third space that you just recently shared on LinkedIn. Do you want to share a little bit about this like ephemeral kind of like community that you've been building through this newsletter and the podcast and all that stuff?
Yeah, I think 2025 for me is the year where I'm trying to make a clear distinction between like myself, Angela, the visual storyteller, and Rootful Media, the visual storytelling ecosystem. So I feel like I sound like a crazy person when like one day I'm posting a video, the other day I'm posting a podcast, the other day I'm posting a newsletter, like, and then some days it's nothing and it's just my thoughts that I'm rambling about that like today's post on LinkedIn. So it's a mix. But I think, ultimately visually I started as a photographer back in 2015. Started my business in 2016, started video in 2018, started writing daily in 2021. So what you're seeing is the culmination of, 8+ years of me really trying to express the inspiration that I see in the world around me. It's me trying to find stories that I find compelling and share them in ways that I feel like they deserve to be shared. And it's me trying to create a world where we don't have to run away from, that we're not looking for a vacation from. Um, and, maybe that like virtual third space option that I spoke about today a little bit as well, that people feel comfortable going to. And, they want to hang out there, they want to be themselves there, and they see themselves in that space. So,
I love it. That's so cool. So, like, I think a lot of people want to do all the things, and you're one of those prime examples of people that do it and do it well. You are really just genuinely excited about it, which I think is helpful. And you've been professionally trained, right? So, you know, it's like in your bones, but like, what would you say to someone who is like really wanting to be on, create a podcast, and they feel like they have their voice and all of that stuff, but they've got a lot of fear about like, oh, what if someone says, great, another podcast, that's what we need? What would you say to someone who doesn't have necessarily your chops but has the desire to claim that space?
I didn't always have my chops, so they're in good company. I didn't start out like amazing. Like I tell people all the time, like the whole first season of my podcast, I just unpublished it because the audio was so terrible. The guests were great; they were great, but it just I couldn't get consistent audio that first season. I was still figuring it out. In many ways, I'm still figuring it out. you know. And, ultimately it's just about getting the reps in, and I think a lot of people assume that people are watching them when they first launch something. And the reality is, no matter how many followers you have, it's very likely that not many people are watching you when you first are starting, which is kind of good because you can make mistakes and nobody's like, oh, you messed this thing up because only like 3 people are watching anyway. So it's like your training ground. And as you grow and as you get better, your audience grows. And well, I think it does. But because the other thing that happens, not only does your skill set get better, but your ability to package what you're doing for like the people you're trying to reach gets better. So it all kind of like goes hand in hand. I would love to say that you just, you start one day and you get great the next, but it's more like you start one day and then you keep going for a long time. And then you look back in 6 months or a year and you're like, oh, I've come really far. And this is so much better than what it started as. And all those things. So my advice would be to start and to keep going and to not worry about the numbers until the numbers worry about you. And when I say that, I mean when people start responding to you and when you start to see the effects of like putting yourself out there on a regular basis.
Well, and I think you're good at doing that in a personal way, right? Like you just reached out to me. I mean, like I've interacted with your posts and stuff like that, but you just reached out to me. We hadn't really had a proper conversation or anything. And you're like, hey, I did this thing on Beehive, come check it out. And I was like, oh my gosh, please hustle responsibly. Tell me more. And then I went into this rabbit hole for 2 hours of all the other work that you'd been doing that I hadn't really noticed. And so I love that you're bold enough to also be like, hey, like I did this thing, I care about it. Please
Yeah.
check it out. Like I think our values are aligned. And so it hit the nerd factor for me, and all of like the bells and whistles are going off.
That's amazing to hear. There's some people I reached out to, like I literally had somebody today say, yeah, I'm not going to check this out. I don't like the word hustle. I'm a businessman, not a hustler. And I was like, well, if you click the link, you would see that that's kind of the premise. Like, but okay, like I'll respect your decision. But like, so it's always that too. But I don't really care about those things. Like I'm at a place where I can roll it off. Like you're not going to be for everyone. And that's okay. The people that are, meant for you are going to find you.
The word hustle will always be associated with basketball practice for me whenever like you think you're running as fast as you can and your coach is like hustle and you're like, are you kidding me? Like I am already doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me about it.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the clients that you like to work with. Like who are the people that fire you up that are those clients that just feel easy to work with even if the work is hard?
Mhm. So Rootful Media, one of the reasons I kind of renamed my company that was because I really wanted to focus on the outdoors, nature, adventure storytelling, some athlete stories as well. And not just like professional athletes or college athletes, but really like everyday athletes, the people that get outside because they love it and they love the fitness aspect, they love the community aspect, they love the mental health effects that they get from it. So those are kind of the things that I love to work on ultimately. Um, and those are kind of the projects that we tend to go towards. There's some environmental justice work in there as well. Um, it feels like those projects are getting fewer and further in between, but we need more climate stories. We need more environmental justice stories. So that's another aspect of the outdoors that we try to focus on too.
I love that. And so, like, when you are doing like video production and all of that stuff, what are the things that maybe aren't seen that are underappreciated that go into that work before you ever see the final product?
A lot of it is really the pre-production. And I feel like that's the part of video production where I shine. I don't feel like I'm the best editor. I know how to edit. I can edit. I can make a good edit. Am I the best editor? Absolutely not. I feel like it takes me so much time, but that is really where everything kind of comes together ultimately. Like once you've done all your planning, once you've done all your filming, it's about packaging it, putting it together in a way that tells a story that you were intending to. But ultimately a lot of it is pre-production. I feel like right now a lot of people are focused on the edit. They're focused on making it flashy and fun and big and bright and whatever, instead of really just making a good story that doesn't have to rely on flashy transitions to be compelling. And a lot of that comes down to identifying what is a good story. What is the story that we want to tell? Is this a story that's already been told? Is there a new take on this story that we can explore? Is there a new perspective that we have or a unique perspective that we're bringing to this story? A lot of that happens before you ever press record, before you ever start writing. And I think that to me is something that I've really focused on getting better at year over year is just identifying like what is a good story, what is a unique angle I want to tell with this, and how can I set myself up for success in production and pre-production by planning ahead like what I need instead of just showing up somewhere with the camera and being like, I'm here, I'm gonna tell a story. Let's just see what happens. And it's like, no, like maybe I should talk to this historian, maybe I should talk to this person that lives here, maybe I should like learn a little something about this before we go into it. So yeah, the research pre-production is really the hidden work that goes into filmmaking that makes it really possible.
People forget how hard it is to build ease into your flow of work, right? Like you have to be intentional about it and thoughtful and have a
Yeah,
schedule. It doesn't have to be rigid, but like there has to be a little bit of the pre-work like you're mentioning.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I like to ask people who their mentors and muses are. Who are yours?
I have a lot of informal and formal mentors. I just spoke with one of them yesterday, Dion McGee. She's a previous guest on the podcast. She's a speaker and consultant. She made the jump from corporate to solopreneurship, and she's been awesome. I think she's just helped me so much about uh, just how I think about framing, how I think about revenue, how I think about how do I want to make money. She's just been great for that. In terms of a muse, right now, I've really been inspired by, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but the Boston Celtics social media team. Uh,
Tell me more.
they are like insane. They're like an 8 or 10 person team, and it's like they do incredible work, like just mind-boggling stuff. I just really feel like they're pushing the boundaries of what it means to create social media content that is, yes, flashy, but also really compelling and really good story and narrative, and just like, yeah, they're taking it. Yeah, like when they won the championships last year, everybody was like, "Oh, we want this," and someone from their team was like, "Yeah, if you want this, that means 8 people, not one person. You pay $50,000 to do everything for you," and it's like, yeah, I'm glad they're putting it out there, but they're also like showing like when you invest in 8 people, like this is the return you get. It's an outsized return, I feel like, for their team. They're just chef's kiss. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling like right now.
I'm gonna have to check them out. Okay, so what are you saying yes to and what are you saying no to right
I'm
days?
saying yes to more time outdoors. It's so beautiful outside, especially in the South this time of year. Like I'm saying yes to more. I'm going for a walk after this. Like I'm saying yes to being outside. I'm saying no to more meetings. I know it sounds bad, but it's just like I spend a lot of time meeting and networking, and I don't want to rest on that. I do think it's important to always be in touch with your community, but I don't necessarily feel like endless 15-minute coffee chats are the way to do that. I feel like there's other ways I can do that more intentionally that don't drain me. So that's what I'm saying.
And everyone else should be hustling responsibly as well, right?
Yeah, like you got to define what hustle looks like for you. And, we're in our soft girl era right now. So, that's what we're on.
Oh, I love that so much. What are some moonshot projects that you would love to work on? Like, if you were like, sky's the limit, if I could be the Celtics team and get my own team of human beings to come together and make a beautiful product, what would that look like?
Honestly, it would look like Kara Lawson at Duke Women's Basketball. I would love to do a series on her and what she's doing there. I mean, she's been a college player, she's been a WNBA athlete, she's been an Olympian, and now she's a coach who just won her first ACC title at Duke. So, I think her journey's been incredible, and she knows what it means to win. Um, and she knows what it means to put other people in a position to win and put other people in the mindset to believe they can win. And I think that's so beautiful. I feel like she's creating a joyful spot in Durham and on the internet. So that's probably a moonshot project for me.
I love it. I hope she finds this and it gets the ball rolling.
Yeah, if you're watching, tag her in the comments. She's on LinkedIn. She just posted after they won the ACC tournament. So I know she's on here, or somebody from her team is on here. So tag her, tell her I want to work with her.
Yes, everyone help us out. Oh my gosh, I love it. So what are some other like prospects or partners that you like working with? Like is there someone that you're looking for that likes to do editing or anything like that?
um, I would love to say I'm always open to video editors. Like I do have a good crop of people that I've been working with so far. I'd love to find someone who really loves social video. I think there's a lot of people who do edit social videos, but they don't like do it for the love of storytelling, like I feel like the Boston Celtics team does. And maybe that's not a fair benchmark, but that's the benchmark that I'm going with. I would love to work with somebody who can like really push me to do better about social video and like really experiment and have fun and take more time with it than I'm able to take with it, I think. Obviously, I am putting effort into social video, especially on LinkedIn, because they have the video feed now. And because I care about it, I think it's something that's going to be important. Actually, if I can give an analogy, I know we're getting close, but there's this old analogy that like the NBA, it didn't start having 3 pointers as an option to score, right? They didn't bring that in until after the game had been a few years in. And when they first brought in 3 pointers, coaches and players were like, we don't like this. This isn't how the game is played. We're not going to do this. But now here we are in 2025, and there's not a college team, an NBA team, a WNBA team, a G League team that doesn't have a dedicated like 3-point score and doesn't have 3-point offensive weapons on their team. And that's how I feel about short form video. Like it's didn't start off being a part of, film and TV, right? Film trailers, all that kind of came later in the game. And now we see this really big rise of like the social video feed that's really pushing short form content in a very short amount of time. You think about maybe starting with Vine, so maybe like mid 2010s to like now. That's a short amount of time in the film and TV world. But I do think that there's not going to be able to be a creative agency alive that's going to be able to compete with market share and audience growth without some kind of short form weapon and short form strategy.
Absolutely. Do you think that like there will be the Academy Awards of short form one day as well? Like, do you think that there's going to be this separate entity that really focuses on appreciates that, or do you think it'll always feel a little bit like underappreciated?
I do. I think it's, there may be dedicated awards, there may be integrations with current award systems. Like we just saw, that YouTube shows are eligible for Emmys now because the quality has gotten so good. I think we're going to see that with short form. I think while Quibi, the vertical streaming app, couldn't make it work, I do think we are going to see like series and like serial content that is made for short form. I'm in the process of writing one because I think it's smart to be ahead of the curve and really focus on making short stuff directly for social media audiences that leads them back to maybe a long form um, project or series that you're working on. So I think that's going to make a comeback. I think that's going to be in a conversation around, you know, some of the greatest filmmakers of our time. How can we package stories in this medium? So,
That's amazing. Well, you've given us so much. Do you want to share where people can find you on your website, your newsletters, all of that?
yeah, if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see in my features section a link to sign up for my newsletter, Please Hustle Responsibly. That's where I'm writing a couple times a week. And check it out. You can read articles without having to subscribe, I believe. So check us out, see what hustle means to us. And yeah, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in today, and thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, Angela, thank you so much for your time. This has been, like I said, I knew this conversation was going to light me up and get me fired, so like fired up. So I'm really excited that you took the time to expand your audience to mine as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a great day. Bye, everyone.